Welcome to Seeking Sustainability Live number 21. And today we have some special guests on this Friday from Japan and Thailand, actually. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Marisa and I make beeswax food wraps, and my business is Eco-Hachi, Sustainable Living. And Karen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everybody, my name is Karen Dorber and I'm part of the Eas-y Green team, which was set up when I was living in Japan. And I'm currently now live streaming from Bangkok, where I'm currently living.
That's wonderful. Thanks for joining us. So you were in Japan for a while. How long were you in Japan for, Karen?
Pretty much 5 years. We were there and we left just over 12 months ago. So February 2019, we moved to Bangkok.
Okay, great. And Marisa, how long have you been in Japan?
So this is my 16th year in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's crazy. We had planned to move here for 3 years. We were living in Hong Kong before we came to Tokyo, and we just never left. Wow. We love it so much here.
That's great.
Yeah, we have 2 children, both born in Tokyo, and it's really like home now for us.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Karen, we'll bring you back a little bit later when we talk about the Eas-y Green group. And Marisa, we'll start with you and talk about Eco-Hachi. Is that okay,
Great.
Karen?
Yeah.
All right, Karen, see you later. We can still hear you if you have a comment.
Okay.
So, Marisa, you want to tell us a little bit about the Eco-Hachi idea?
Yeah.
How did it start? Yeah. Where did the idea come from?
Okay, so it was around 2017, and my son, who was then 10 at the time, he was home from school, unwell, and we sat down to watch Netflix. I think we'd only just got Netflix at that stage, and we sat down and we watched this documentary called A Plastic Ocean, and I'm not sure if you've seen the documentary, but it's quite a long documentary, and we were both sat on the sofa with tears streaming down our eyes. And at the end of it, he turned around and he said to me, "Do you think people know that this is happening out there?" And I really didn't have an answer for him. And then we went to that December, so that was around November, and then in December we went to Thailand and Vietnam, and we'd been traveling around Asia for many years, but I wasn't sure if it was because I had seen a plastic ocean, but everywhere we turned, all we found was plastic pollution, and it was actually quite a distressing holiday in a certain sense for us as a family. And so we came back to Tokyo and we sat down and we talked about it. By then, the rest of the family had seen a plastic ocean, and we decided that the best place to start would probably be to do a plastic audit, because in fact, we didn't really know how much plastic we were using on a weekly basis. So we kept all our plastic for 1 week, and at the end of the week, we separated it. And what I noticed is that we were using a lot of cling film or saran wrap or plastic wrap. Every country has a different word for it. And I was actually quite horrified. Why was I using this much cling film? And I guess I was using it to cover leftover food in bowls and to wrap the sandwiches and the onigiri. And then we'd been talking about it, and a friend had actually gifted me a beautiful packet of beeswax food wraps. So I started to use them, and they were a lot easier than I thought, and obviously reusable, and they can last a year, even longer. So it was another friend who was living in Tokyo at the time, had been to Australia, and a friend had taught her how to use them and how to make them. So she visited me one day and she said, "Look, let's try and make some of these together." And we did. And from there, the process kind of really started. The first batch that we made together, I think the wax had a very strong smell. And we were only using beeswax wax at that time. And they were not very pliable. And the smell was so strong that it was actually getting into the food. So that then sent me on another journey to kind of discover how could I create the perfect beeswax wrap. So around 6 months later, after lots of different concoctions and mixing things, I finally discovered something that I thought was great. And another friend, I then started to gift them to people. And then another friend had said, oh, I think there's probably a demand out there for something like this. Why don't you think about starting a small business and making things? And so here I am.
Yeah,
Today.
that's a
2 years
fantastic
later.
story. And that is so true. I remember seeing these reusable wraps a few years ago, maybe about 5 years ago now in Hawaii, and I picked some up and I was like, I don't know how to use these. And then once I started using it, it was so easy. You just wash it after you use. Sometimes it has a strange smell, but you just wash it and hang it dry, and then you can use it again. You also mentioned that some of your friends gave it back to you to redo the wax because they'd used it so much. Is that right?
So often I get people saying, would you mind to re-wax it? And I have no problems with that at all, because you can. I mean, the recommended period of time is around a year, but depending what you've used it for, especially if it's just for vegetables, then they don't have a strong smell, and re-waxing them is very easy. I've had some going from my original batches that I'm making, and I'm still using them to wrap my cucumbers and tomatoes and avocados that do especially well wrapped in beeswax.
Good idea.
Wraps.
And I've got some from like 8 years ago that I'm still using, and they really do last a long time. And then
They really
on YouTube or something, you can see tutorials about a variety of ways to use them, not only wrapping food, but also you can make it into a pouch for sandwiches or snacks, right?
Right.
It's a great idea. And then really you don't need the plastic Ziplocs either, right?
That's right. Yes, yeah. And they are just so versatile. And in terms of sizes, I guess I started to make sizes that were useful for me. So the smallest size I used to cover half a lemon once I cut it, because as soon as you cut the lemon, you put it into the fridge, it dries out so quickly. Whereas the wax, keeps the moisture in. To the biggest size that I have, which is I have a very large salad bowl. So what I'll tend to do in the morning is wash the salad, prepare the salad, and just grab the wrap, cover it, and then put it into the fridge, and then we're ready to go for dinner.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
I do find them to be very, very useful.
Yeah, you just have to remember to take it off before you put it in the microwave or oven. I've done that before.
Oven. Don't worry, I've done that as well.
Why? I don't know what I was thinking. We've had a few comments. Maribon says hello from Periscope. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Hi.
And Kyoko Nagano says, Marisa, love her product. That's great.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Kyoko.
And Yoshitsugu Fujiwara says, great. Thank you for joining us. From Facebook and Periscope and Twitch and YouTube. We got a variety of channels. That's wonderful. I've got a picture here. You've got your beautiful wraps around some kiwi, around tomato, around grapefruit. Is there anything you wouldn't wrap, like you wouldn't use it to wrap? Like maybe you would use a Tupperware or something instead?
Yeah, so something that has a lot of oil. And obviously you can't use it for any raw meat, chicken or fish, because obviously for health reasons. But there are some things that's, very strong smells. So people have said, they've wrapped up cheese that has a very strong smell.
Okay.
And then obviously you could probably use that same wrap just for that cheese.
I see. Because the smell would stay in the wrap, right?
That's right. Yeah. Because it is fabric. It's 100% cotton.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing that I had to also learn along the way, was that the fabric also was very important, because it has to be 100% cotton, but it also has to have a very tight weave to it.
So are there certain kinds of Japanese material, like tenigui, the kind that
Yes,
usually is used for hand towels. I heard that's quite good for
that
making. Is
is
that
quite
right?
good. Yes, yes, because it's a nice and Japan has like beautiful materials, beautiful materials. But some of the very traditional materials that I love, the it's the type of cotton is not quite right because the
Okay.
weave is quite big.
So it should
Um,
be cotton and it should be tight weave. Is that right?
Tight weave, yes, very tight
Well,
weave.
let's talk a little bit about the process. You sent me a picture of the ingredients. Can you explain it
Yes.
to us?
Okay, so as I talked about before, when I first started, I was just using the beeswax wrap, sorry, the beeswax itself. And actually, I first tried with an iron. That seems to be a very common method that you find online. And the problem was that I couldn't quite evenly melt the wax around the fabric. And I ended up actually breaking my iron. I don't know if that was because I was using it for this purpose or its time was up. But what I do is I heat up beeswax with some jojoba oil and a very small amount of resin, pine resin. And once that's all melted into the large pot that I have on the stove, I have the oven going at a low temperature because beeswax has a very low melting point. So I turn my oven on around 200 Fahrenheit, and I have a tray in there. And then I get the fabric and I coat it with numerous layers of this concoction.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
once I've coated it,
before you would melt it on the stove and
yes.
then you put it in the oven. And what do you have it on in the oven? Is that wax paper or?
Yes, I have it on some wax paper
Mm-hmm.
and just on an oven tray.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I should rewind a little bit. That before that, when I go and I start with purchasing the fabric, which is a very fun part of
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah,
process.
so many cute
Yes.
designs.
Oh, Japan has
Lovely.
the best fabrics. So then I wash the fabrics when I come home. I
Okay.
wash it and then I dry it, preferably in the sun.
Okay.
That kind of reduces the fabric itself.
And then when you wash the fabric, are you using any kind of detergent
No,
or? Okay,
nothing. No. I
just
just use
water.
just hot water.
Mm-hmm.
And then I iron the fabric. Then I cut it to the dimensions that I want it. Then I iron it again so that it's ready to go into the oven with the wax mixture on top of it. So it's a relatively long process, and it's extremely messy.
What
Have
is the
wax.
messy part? Because you're melting everything. So in the pan, you would need to designate a pan just for this, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I have a special pot just for that. But because I'm using a brush, and obviously the liquid is very hot, I have wax on my ceiling, in my
Oh,
hair, and wax is also not the easiest thing to remove.
yeah.
So I have special clothing that I wear just for the waxing, with my apron that is covered in wax. But after I finish doing these waxing jobs, often the kids will come in. They'll say, "Oh, Mom, you've got like wax in your hair. You've got wax on your nose." I don't even
Well,
feel it
there could
anymore.
be worse things, I guess. We have a few comments. Maribon says, "Great idea." And then he also says, what kind of fabric? What type of fabric?
So it has to be 100% cotton. Really, 100% cotton with a tight weave. You'll know it has a tight weave if you hold it up to the light and you see less light coming through.
Okay.
And
So
you can
like
actually see the weave if you hold it up to the light. You'll see how tight the weave is.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good question and good answer. And he also says, how do you wash your hair if you get it in your hair?
Well, it's like a slow process of removing these pieces of wax.
Oh, no.
My daughter said I should wear a shower cap when I'm doing it. And I
Oh.
thought, okay, that's clever.
Well,
That's a
maybe
clever
a
idea.
bandana because you have such beautiful long
Maybe.
hair. So I have a second picture from the process.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you're holding the wax mixture. So about how much wax and oil and what was it? Pollen? What was the other one?
It was resin.
Resin.
Pine
Okay.
resin. Yes. Yeah, so normally I just do it by eye, to be honest. I don't
Okay.
have any set measurements, but I would say maybe a quarter of the pot would be the beeswax, and I'll just put the jojoba oil in. So as the wax is melting, I'll put the jojoba oil in to kind of mix it through until I have the right consistency, and then I put a little bit of resin in it.
Wow.
I think it's a bit like cooking, that after a while you kind of
You
get
just
to
kind
know.
of get a feel for it. So it is
Yeah,
kind of trial and error, hit and miss a
it
little
is
bit.
very much trial and error,
That's
very much.
that's my
Yeah,
kind of cooking. I
yeah,
don't like measuring things. That suits me.
me too.
So it is messy.
Very messy.
But you have been making quite a lot of it because you've had pop-up shops and markets. Can you talk a little bit about like how many you've been able to make for different events?
So probably the largest event that I've attended it twice now is the American Club Bazaar. And I think that I made 300 sets, and each set has 3 wraps. So that's a lot of wraps. But obviously, the production that I have is relatively small, so I start many months before
Okay.
preparing these wraps,
Right.
and it's just me in the kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But it's fun. I
nobody
like
else
it.
wants to get so messy, I guess.
No one else wants to get it.
So how many could you make? Like at a push, if you were really going for it, how many could you make in a day
In
without
a
killing
day,
yourself?
probably maybe 30 in a day from start to finish. If I was ironing and cutting and
Right.
then
Yeah.
ironing again. And then obviously it needs to dry. There's a period of time. So there's only so much space I have in my kitchen to have these laying around,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so much tolerance my family will have of whether they can sit down and actually eat their meal or not.
Well, it's a great product that you're making.
Thank
And
you.
how was it hard to kind of decide the price point? Like, because
Um,
it takes a long time.
yes, it was. It was really hard. And so basically I just based it on other similar products that were available on the market. And especially items that I had purchased when I actually went back to Australia myself. And I spoke to another lady in Australia who was doing something similar, and I asked her the same question. And she also had difficulty because obviously it is very time consuming. But at the same time, I want to make it affordable so that people do see it as an alternative to cling film.
Of course.
Um,
And then
yeah.
if people are interested in buying it, the best way is to go to your Facebook page, is that right?
Yeah, Facebook or Instagram, and just send me a message. And how it normally works is that I send them through my sizes and prices, and ask them whether they prefer a Japanese style or potentially like a foreign style. I noticed that my Japanese friends prefer more of like a Liberty floral style.
Okay.
Whereas my foreign friends prefer the traditional Japanese fabrics.
Right. Yeah.
So then I send them through what I currently have in stock. Often people have their own material that they would like to use. So then they'll either send it to me or I meet them somewhere and I collect it, and then I'll make the wraps for them in that fabric.
Wow, that's great. Is it a bit tricky because you know the kind of material you need to use, right? So if someone has like a favorite silk material, that's not going to work, right? So
It's not going to work.
yeah.
Yeah. So beforehand, I always try and make sure that I show them a couple of samples that I have, and yeah, I haven't had anyone try and give me some material that really that doesn't work.
Well, you
I'm
have
hoping
so
as well
many
is that
beautiful choices. Where do you find your material? Do you have a favorite
lots
shop?
of-
Yeah.
No favorite shop. People often ask me that. That's the best part of this is wandering around looking at all the beautiful fabrics in Tokyo. And actually this fabric here, which is more of the Liberty fabric, apparently there's a town near Kyoto in Nara that actually prints a lot of that particular fabric. So I was introduced by a Japanese friend to particular lines of fabric in Japan, and I would really love to get into finding a little bit more of the organic cotton, or understanding a bit more about where the cotton comes from. I guess I struggle with that a little bit.
In our area, there is cotton grown. I was talking in the Seeking Sustainability, blanking, number 11 with Thomas. They run a textile and dyeing company there, and they're using organic cotton. So maybe if you reach out to him, because he knows some sources in Japan where they do have organic cotton, and there are people using it, like in Imabari. Imabari is really famous for towels, and they also have made in Japan organic cotton that they're using for the towels. So maybe anyway, reach out to Thomas, because he could probably put you in touch.
Great, thank you. Yeah. That would be great. Thank you.
Good. Well, very exciting and really interesting. And I think anybody who just listened to that process is thinking, maybe I'll buy it instead of try to make it.
I mean, I've been thinking about having workshops, and just because the process is so messy, I'm not sure what sort of kitchen area that I could rent that would be happy to have this wax
That's true.
splashed everywhere.
That's true, isn't it? And then like one of the ideas for running an online business now during coronavirus is like Mikan, Clementine. She's sending the cut material and then doing the online workshop, and then people already have the material, so she can teach them in the online class. But that kind of thing would be really difficult because, like you said, it's so messy, and it's not just about the material, right?
I think so. And I think a lot of my Japanese friends said that it's difficult because most people don't have a very big oven. I'm quite lucky that I have a very large oven to use. Yeah. And I don't think that, my friend said there's no way that she's getting all that wax inside her her expensive Japanese oven. So
I'm very jealous of your oven, looking at it. Is that an electric oven?
No, it's a gas oven, actually. It's a gas oven, but it's not fan forced. So cooking roast potatoes takes a very long time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I have a smaller version I bought years ago, but making enough cookies for the family was something I aimed for, because my first few ovens in Japan were like toaster size, and any kind of dinner was impossible to make, or even making cookies for the PTA, or impossible. So having a nice big oven is a luxury in Japan.
It is a luxury, isn't it? Yes. But I guess the one thing I did want to say was that I'm currently trying to experiment with other types of wax as well, because obviously beeswax, the worldwide bee population is in decline, and I'm conscious of that. And I think as well is that there are lots of different waxes out there. I've tried soy wax. It doesn't quite give me the same pliability. And I've had a lot of vegan friends request that I try and experiment with some different types of waxes. So that's my next adventure, is to try and find some.
I mean, I try to be as sustainable as possible, and I know that you do as well. This is one of your passions. And bees are a big issue about honey and about beeswax. I have visited some local honey farms, and you see how amazing the beekeepers are at taking care of the hives and taking care of the bees, and then having the honey as the way to keep them going. And also protecting the bees and keeping bees healthier, which protects our forests and our food. So I think for small scale honey farmers and bee farms, I think we can support them, because they are doing a great service for the environment and community. Commercial bee farms, on the other hand, have a really bad reputation. And they often kill the bees at the end of the season. They don't really take care of it. It's all about take instead of protecting. So I
Sure.
think if you're supporting local small bee farms in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
then I think that still can be under the sustainable umbrella. But
Yes,
it's
yeah.
it's just not a black and white issue.
It's
It
not,
seems more
yeah.
complicated, right?
It
And
is a lot more complicated,
and
yeah.
so I know a lot of vegans automatically will say, "Oh, I can't have beeswax or I can't have honey." But I
Mm-hmm.
hope that they'll, look at the sourcing. Because I know
Mm.
that you love bees. You have a lot
I love bees.
of posts about how cute bees are, that they
Oh,
cuddle each other and
I know. And actually recently, obviously being spring, and this is the time when they do most of the pollinating, when I have the wax melting on the stove, I get lots of little visitors tapping at the window.
oh wow.
Oh, it's beautiful. And the bees come because obviously they can smell the wax. But I have a whole newfound appreciation and love for bees, and I would actually really love to do some beekeeping myself. I've
Yeah,
I've
I
looked
often think
into
about
it.
that. Yeah.
Mm.
I
And
think it's harder than you realize, but like anything.
mm,
Like when I visited the bee farm, I had the full like outfit on with him, and he was doing the smoking, so they'd stay, and I was like, maybe I can't have my own little bee farm in my garden. Like maybe it is a little harder than I thought.
maybe, right. Yeah. But
But
even in Tokyo, there are some tall buildings here in Ginza and in Meguro that have beehives on their roofs. There's actually, you can buy it Ginza honey.
okay.
Yeah, from the hives that are on some of the roofs in Ginza. So it's
And if
yeah.
you have hay fever or allergies,
Mm,
people always recommend you try a little bit of the regional honey, the local honey,
yes.
because that's
Yeah.
where your allergies are coming from, and it somehow helps you.
Mm.
And the beekeeper on Miyajima that I visited, he said he'd like to give someone the wax because it's a
Oh,
byproduct of making the honey. So maybe I can get you in touch with
yes.
him.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank
let's
you.
let's try to do that.
Great. Great.
Good. I don't know why I just thought of that. One more thing about something that you did is the Al Gore course. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. Yes. So, to be honest, I didn't really. It kind of fell into my lap because it popped up on my Facebook one day, and I thought, well, this is interesting. I'll just register for it. I had kind of mixed feelings about Al Gore. I had seen his documentaries, but heard other things about him. But it was actually really great. It was a really great experience, and I connected with so many amazing people at that event, and I came away really, really inspired. Really,
Good.
really inspired, actually.
That's good.
So actually, we still keep in contact with some of the people that I attended
Nice.
attended the course
It's
with.
a really nice course. And
Hmm.
who was it wasn't just Al Gore, it was another organization. Was it
The Climate Reality
360?
Project,
Yeah,
oh,
climate. Mm-hmm.
360.org. So yeah, 360.org. The Japan representative was there. I was really impressed that they managed to reach out to so many Japanese scientists, because I think I wasn't. It's always very difficult to get information in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and to actually understand what is going on here. And yeah, it was great. And I found that a lot of the scientists were females.
Wow. That's
And
great.
it's not the image that we're often presented with
Yeah.
in Japan.
There
And
is some of the lectures and stuff online. I know if you go to 360.org, you can see a lot of the videos. But
yeah,
that's great that you got to do the training. How
yeah, yeah. No, it was
inspiring.
it was yeah, it was very inspiring, actually. Yes, and it was
Good.
great. And so I've given the presentation not as many times as I would have hoped for, but I gave the presentation to my Eas-y Green group that we'll talk
Nice.
about shortly. And yeah, I think it is very inspiring. Obviously, there's there's a lot of confusion out there at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think that it was very positive. I went away feeling very positive, and that obviously there's hope for the future anyway.
I think
Yeah.
so. And I was very disappointed with the recent film Planet of the Humans, and
Yes.
it was attacking Al Gore and attacking 360.org and attacking a lot of the climate activists who are really working for the common good. And there was a lot of misinformation in there, but I think the whole idea behind that course that you did was all about transparency and showing what's actually happening and showing progress over time. So what a shame that all of that momentum from last year and then a bit down because of that.
Yeah. And I think especially during this period where people are feeling a little down anyway, it probably wasn't, timing wise, it wasn't the best time for it to have been released. But
I agree.
I think we can still stay positive. There's a lot going on in the world, and especially in Japan, there's a lot of young Japanese activists, and they're really inspiring. So
well, this is a good time to bring Karen in.
I think so, yes.
Karen, thank you for waiting. So nice that you've been waiting. Did you have any comment on the Eco Wraps or anything that you wanted to add before we move on to your great group that you guys did together?
Yeah, no, I just think it's interesting when you think about the trade shows, and you said you had 900 wraps in the sets, between the 300 sets, and that's a lot of plastic that's been saved, even if people only use it 10 times. That's a lot of plastic, and it seems so insignificant, to just use one piece of cling film over a bowl at a time, but then you multiply it up, and you just see with the wraps it can make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. Karen, do you want to introduce the Eas-y Green group? How did you guys get started? Yeah? Marisa, okay. You can have a little breather. You can have a little break. You. Okay.
Thank you. So we were a group of mothers, all who had children at the same international school in Tokyo. We all came from very different backgrounds. We were, Canadian, American, English, Australian, but we all were friends, and particularly Marisa and Deborah and Pamela. I was like the last one to kind of come into the fold, I would say, but it just was the events that they had witnessed and things that they had done, and Marisa watching the plastic ocean and then having her holidays in Asia, like Vietnam and Thailand, and seeing the plastic waste on the beach. And I just remember talking to them kind of at the school gate, and we were discussing this plastic waste, and I was like, oh, it doesn't mean that much to me. I wasn't really aware of it. And they just encouraged me to watch the Plastic Ocean film. And when I watched it, it was just like a real eye-opener, and I couldn't then forget what I'd seen. And I think that was the real kind of crux of us coming together, is that each of us had this realization that we have young children, we want them to have a positive future, and yet many of the little things we're doing every day is creating so much waste that is not sustainable, that is not good for the environment. And when we put stuff in the rubbish bin at home, we think, oh, it's out of sight, out of mind. But that film just brought it right back in front of you and say, no, this is your toothbrush on the beach. This is your crisp packet that's being washed up. And so we just came together, and we all had this passion to try and do something and see what we could do within our community initially, particularly with the school. And it's a lot of small steps, but trying to bring us all together to mobilize some actions that together will make a big difference.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And you guys it's probably the easiest place to find you guys, Eas-y Green Group, is Instagram and Facebook. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've got a Facebook page and a Facebook group and Instagram page. So we're easily findable on there. Majority of people are in Japan that are following us, but now we've all got people who have come in from our home countries as well. So we have some people from England, Canada, Australia, and then as people who we knew were in Tokyo maybe have moved to other places. We have followings, so it's little pockets all around the world. So although Japan has always been our kind of home and focus, and still is the real focus for a lot of the activities, we have a kind of global outlook. You know, all of us are living in places that aren't our home, and we want the whole world to kind of come on board with this and try and live more sustainably.
Yeah, great. And it's, it's very simple ideas. You have this really cute uh, illustration from one of your members, I believe, Brenna Quinlan. Is that right? And she wrote about the normal and then the COVID reality and then the way forward. And, you're sharing this kind of stuff with your friendship group, but also, of course, you're talking about it with your families and with your kids, right? So
so it's just trying to find, I mean, the Eas-y acronym was set up to be about educating people. So our aim is to try and raise awareness and educate, because, if my friends hadn't educated me, I wouldn't have had any idea, and I wouldn't have been able to come on board with this. So we're all about trying to educate each other, and then we're about trying to act every day in simple ways. So, we're not all going to be going, and we're not all able to go to like the climate reality kind of level of things, or we can't all change the fossil fuel usage, but we can do things in our own homes, and we can change small things every day. And that was really key, and to make those changes sustainable. And we really had that focus of the why from Eas-y as to you are where it starts. So you and I and everyone, we have to take responsibility. And if we all do it, it's, the classic of this is just one straw, but said 8 million people or billion people. If we all do our own thing, eventually it will add up, and it all forms pieces of a big jigsaw that will create the big picture, hopefully a better.
And the thing that I really like about looking at you guys' Eas-y Green stuff is it's all very practical and firsthand experience. So, for example, you talk about the National Azabu supermarket. Do you want to introduce that?
Yeah, so National Azabu Supermarket is probably one of the most popular international supermarket for expats in Tokyo. So all of us would have used it at some point or use it very regularly. And so we, Marisa, you had very good contacts with Dale there, who's the store manager. And so we were working with him quite closely, and he invited us in to speak with him about how can they make the store more environmentally friendly, and particularly with removing the use of plastic bags. They wanted to remove it, and they asked for input as to how that could actually be done and how would it be received by the community as well. I don't know, Marisa, do you have anything extra you want to say about that?
No, not really. I mean, I think it was obviously, as Karen said, it's a very expat supermarket. So he had a lot of foreign people that were coming in to the supermarket and asking him, why was there so much plastic packaging, and why did you still give out plastic bags for free in my home country? We have to pay for them. And he's actually Canadian, and so he felt passionately about it, and he thought that he would reach out to us to ask us if we could potentially speak together with the store managers and talk about it. And I think the timing was right as well. And obviously now with COVID, things have changed a little bit, but I think that it's moving in the right direction. And I noticed my local supermarket, they've started charging as well for plastic bags.
That's good.
Yeah,
they seem to be going back and forth, right? Like every store was going to charge, and then not convenience stores, and then not really small stores. It's so, and then I met a woman, this is a couple years ago, who was visiting from Texas. And she was saying, we did the same thing. It was like every store said no plastic bags. And then people complained, and then they brought it all back. You just have to tough it out for a little while.
Do it.
And I love this video that you guys shared of the Sabu supermarket. And in this video, the Japanese reporter is asking people, what do you think? And the Japanese customers are okay, totally fine with it, and bringing their own. And then the foreign customer, like you said, it's a very expat supermarket. The foreign customer at the end is like, I don't think you're charging enough,
Right?
Right?
I think my
Yeah.
local supermarket is charging something like 3 yen. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, it's slowly. I think things are
Yeah.
slowly
No,
changing.
it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think maybe even the customers are changing before the
Mm,
managers. So
probably.
hopefully the customers are going to kind of push the movement to change. It's convenience stores that really need to change, because before you can even say anything, it's already in a bag. It just happens so quickly, right?
Yeah, I know.
Another really interesting thing you guys did was you had a photographer come and give a talk, Junji
Yeah,
Takasago. He looks
yeah. So
like
we
an
had Ginny.
amazing photographer. Do you want to introduce that?
Yeah, so he's such a lovely person and has so talented in his photography. Um, so Junji was having a new book that was being launched called Water Planet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to.
Yes, yeah.
And so we hosted an event at the school in Tokyo last May, where we had students and parents come in and listen to him give a presentation. And it's fascinating to listen to him because he has first-hand account of how he's seen things change within the environment, how the ice has receded in places, how animals are being affected. And so it was really wonderful to be able to work with him and to raise awareness within the community there about things that have been changing in the environment. So
Yeah. I often, like Marisa was saying, I do cleanup activities. Just going to the beach with my kids will fill a couple bags as part of our day at the beach. It's become like a new normal. And then we were doing monthly cleanups. We've stopped that group activity now. But I noticed Junji Takasago is such an amazing photographer. You see all the dolphins jumping, and then you also see all the garbage on the beach pictures, right? So he's not only taking beautiful pictures, he's very aware of all the damage and showing the damage. And I think from a professional photographer, that has so much impact. So it's so wonderful that you guys were able to host him and help spread his message, not only of nature is beautiful, but also we're really messing up. We need to change, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
And you guys also have so many other great little advice and everything. I like this one. This was a really nice one I hadn't heard of. The Exosia, the search engine.
Okay, yes.
Oh, Ecosia.
Ecosia. Okay, there you go.
Ecosia. Well, that's how I pronounce it. I don't know if that's right.
No, that sounds better than what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, Ecosia.
Do you want to introduce that? It's a great initiative. Yeah.
Yeah, you just download it, and we have it on our laptop. I have it on my phone, and you just use it as a search engine. And then about every 45 searches you do, they plant a tree. So it doesn't cost you anything. It's a really good search engine. It finds things really well. And really the hardest thing is just to break your habit of going to Safari or to Chrome. It's so easy. And you can look at their website and you can see so many projects where they've planted trees all around the world. It's amazing. I think they did something for the fires in Australia, and they planted hundreds of trees, thousands of trees. I can't remember, but yeah, they're really a worthwhile organization.
Yeah. And I just tried it before the call because I hadn't heard of it before. And I use Chrome usually, so you can do it as a Chrome application or extension, and then it becomes part of your normal Chrome use, which is great. Yeah. And then it did send me an alert saying you have to turn off ad blocker, because ad blocker is the way that they get the revenue. So if you have software which is blocking ads, you're going to have to turn that off to use it. But, you don't have to use it all the time. Even if you use it half the time, you're still helping plant trees.
And I think they're pretty good at not using your data as well. I feel like maybe your data doesn't get exploited as much as some of the other ones, potentially.
Yeah, we never know. We never know. But until we know otherwise, we can say that, right? I really like that you guys are very good about thanking your followers and being very appreciative. And I think in terms of digital marketing, this is a great habit. So I love this post. You're saying, we're just looking at our followers. Thank you guys so much. and you have a bit of your merch there, your Eas-y Green mug, right? This is all really important, good stuff for social media marketing. Good job.
Yeah, so Karen, within our group of 4, Karen is our social media guru.
Okay, great.
So she manages all our social media for us. So she does a great job. Really,
good job,
really
Karen.
does.
Doing a good job.
It was a nice way to be able to still be connected to it, having relocated. It's good.
Another really good thing you guys are doing is calling out and collaborating in terms of promoting other services, promoting other groups. So for example, you're promoting the work of the climate activists. Even during Corona, they're still getting out and we support them. You know, and that's something I often say in consulting. I was talking to Robin about that yesterday because my Musi is also really good at this. To suggest other companies, to suggest other organizations, to have links that support other good work, you know, pages. Because not enough people are sharing the wealth, sharing the likes. But actually it comes back and helps you guys as well. It helps everybody, right?
Yeah.
It seems counterintuitive, right? It seems like, no, I should keep my own followers. I should keep my own customers, right?
But I guess we're all working for the same, you know, end goal.
Exactly. In terms of sustainable business,
everyone
it's all good.
Everyone wins. Yeah.
I like this post about trash. When you say you're throwing it out, remember there is no out.
Yes.
Yeah. So simple. Are you neither of you are from the States, right? Have you visited San Francisco?
No.
Yes.
Oh, you did? Because I visited San Francisco, and one of my aims when I went there was to visit the recycling plant, which sounds really odd, and my husband was in shock that I wanted to do that. But I was really excited because they're trying to be zero waste. The whole city of San Francisco is sorting so much of their waste, much more than any other place in the world. So in Japan, we have Kamikatsu, which is a very small town. They're trying to do the same thing. Kamikatsu is at 80%. So is San Francisco. But San Francisco has so much infrastructure support. Kamikatsu is like no infrastructure. But it was really interesting. So this whole idea of just using things longer, reusing things. Remember, when you throw it out, there is no out. It stays somewhere is really, really important.
Yeah. And I'm hoping this time during this COVID period that people do realize that they don't need much. And I'm hoping that they'll keep that with them after this passes and realize that less is more sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said about the wraps too, you can use them for so long, even if they, you know, get discolored, as long as they're still working, or you can add more wax, you know.
You can add more wax, exactly.
It is possible. You guys also had this 10% off when you bring your own cup. I wonder if they're still doing this during coronavirus.
Yeah.
You know, Starbucks also has a similar campaign, but they stopped it during Corona. So I'm hoping they'll continue giving discounts for bringing your own cup.
I do hope so. Yes, I really do.
It was interesting. I went to a Starbucks the other day and I had my own cup, but they won't let you use it.
No.
But they still give you the 10% off.
Oh, they did? Okay.
But that's not the point. Is they want everyone to use it. But I think the intention will be there to continue it afterwards. I hope. Once they get past.
When I went to the Starbucks, I was thinking, how far can I push this? So I had my own cup, and she said, oh, we can't do that because of Corona. And I said, can I hold it and you just pour the coffee? Like, you don't touch it, and I'll just put it on the table. You know, like, it's just, I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to get my cup anywhere near. But, you know, we have to find a way forward that's going to be able to reuse things. So like the whole My Mizu thing with Corona, we still have to allow people to refill their own bottles, but we don't want to spread the virus. So it's really, it's tricky, but we have to find a way forward, I think.
Yeah.
maybe this is Azabu as well. You said leave it on the shelf. I like this campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a campaign that's by 1 Million Women. They set that up, but it's something that we saw and we thought, yeah, we need to try and champion this as well, because particularly in Japan, there is so many things that are overwrapped. Plastic inside plastic, and even here in Thailand, there's apples that can be wrapped in plastic wrap individually, and so yeah, that was just something we were trying to encourage other people to either post about, but also to take action on not purchasing those things, because if we the consumer don't buy these things, then they're not going to produce them.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we have to remember that, I think, that even if it's just the price of an apple, if you don't spend that money on that item, it will make a difference. You don't have to have a lot of money to make a difference.
Yeah. Tokyo Cheapo, when I talked to them the other day, they had some great advice about going to the smaller fruit markets. Because the smaller fruit, and I found this as well, they have it in the reusable baskets, and usually not wrapped. And then you just say, oh, can I have that? And you put it from the basket into your bag. So you don't need that wrapping. A lot of the supermarkets seem to wrap everything for convenience or whatever. Yeah. But if you can find the smaller fruit and vegetable shops, often you can get it without the wrapping. So it's kind of like a research game when you move in somewhere, right?
Exactly. Which way.
I remember that shop has no wrapping for apples, so I'm going to go back there,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Produce bag, reusable produce bags are so useful as well.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And it'll just start happening more and more, I hope, but it really has to come from the top. So they have to make a cost for the bags, but it also has to come from the bottom, and the customers have to accept it. Really, it's a combination of things, right?
Yeah.
So for the last few minutes, you guys mind if I give you some advice about how you might branch out and get more, spread your ideas even further? Is that okay?
Please.
Yes? Okay.
Write some things down.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I am a big fan, and I've said this before, one of the reasons I'm doing this series is Gary Vee. I am so inspired by this. He's an inspirational speaker. He's always on YouTube. He's on Twitter. He's on all the platforms. And he really encouraged me to just start getting good content out that I'm passionate about. And one of his big things that he always says, which I think will work for you guys, is TikTok.
Oh.
That you guys should get on TikTok. And all of you guys are kind of doing the eco projects from a family base. Now, your kids are already on TikTok. So you should get your kids to do some of the TikTok sustainable challenges.
Okay.
And share their videos with you guys, and you could have your brand, your channel sponsoring all of they could have their own channels, of course, but they could share their videos on your channel if it's about sustainability, right?
Okay.
So this is sustainability on TikTok is actually a really big deal. So
I had no idea.
Yeah, no.
I need to get my kids to teach me how to use TikTok.
Exactly. So when I heard Gary Vee, and Gary Vee is closer to my age than my kids' age, but he's like, you got to get on TikTok. TikTok is where it's at. Not just for kids dancing, but it's for normal great ideas too. And I did some research, and I found TikTok has like hashtag challenges. So last year it had #4climate. So all the videos that were focused on for climate, and they did partnerships with environmental organizations. So if all the videos in this challenge were using the same hashtag, they had 273,000 videos created, 284 million video views. So this is a great way to get your message to a much wider audience, because The kids, man, the kids are on TikTok. So that hashtag for climate was interesting. There's another one.
Yeah.
Dance for change.
Okay.
So they've got, and this is all available on TikTok. If you go to the website, they've got all this information under sustainability or something, but it's very clear where it is. Dance for change. So they have a famous rap artist, hip hop artist who has a song, and then all the kids do their dance or lip sync to that song and use the hashtag, and then everybody follows that hashtag, and it goes viral, as the kids say, right?
Okay.
So that was also 81 million video views for the Dance for Change challenge. And this is all 2019 challenges. So they're going to start having, if not already, having 2020 versions of these. There was also My Earth Hour TikTok challenge. Did you see that one? My Earth Hour 2019. Yeah. And maybe that was connected to your 360 org?
Maybe.
Right? So it looks like they were one of the sponsors.
Right.
And the WWF as well.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
I'll have to investigate TikTok.
And then one for animal welfare. So they had the hashtag Pet BFF and cute ones with animals to encourage people to go adopt a pet and to sponsor some of the shelters, which is great. And then the last one was the education one, EduTalk. So hashtag EduTok. And so, for example, she's speaking in, I want to say Urdu or one of the Indian languages, and then she's teaching a bit of English. So there's a little bit of like language learning or something. So anything where you're teaching something, and that had 48 million video views as well. So it's an interesting platform, you know, and because you guys have in your house TikTok experts, this could be the way forward to just make a channel, start putting some videos out, get your kids to help you, you know, just do short videos, even of you guys talking about something, showing the plastic wrap at the store, and then hashtag, what was your hashtag? Leave it on the shelf or something, right? You know, and then you could tag 1 million women or whoever you got it from. And try it. There's no harm in trying. It's a free application. And it's something that we can get the message to a wider audience for sure, all over the world. Yeah. Katie O'Brien says, I'd love to see Marisa on TikTok. I'm signing up. I'm signing up just for that.
Hi, Katie. You might take me some time I'll get my 12-year-old to.
Well, I know, like Katie as well, you guys are all very good at Instagram. You guys have a good Instagram game. You've got a good Facebook game. So why not? You can use similar videos, similar information, and just try it. You know, why not?
Why not?
And I'm on TikTok too, so
are you?
Follow me, Inbound Ambassador.
Okay. I'll be having a look after this.
Exactly. Yeah, check it out. So we're on our last minute. Thank you guys so much. It was such a fun talk. Any final words of encouragement you would give to people who are trying to make better choices in their lives?
I guess the only thing I'll say is that you don't need to be perfect. You know, just it's a journey, and one change can have a huge impact. Definitely. One small change, Karen, I don't know what about you?
I think the same. I think we're all putting in little pieces of the jigsaw, and little actions will add up, and I have faith that will happen.
I think so too. And thank you guys for all the great work you're doing. I know, you know, most of it is volunteer and extra on top of everything else that you do as great moms and, you know, running your own business and doing lots of things. So I cheer for you guys. I'm a big fan. And I support you. And thank you so much for sharing your ideas and your energy with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Joy.
So best of luck. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you for your comments and questions. And next week, we're back every day, weekday at 9 a.m., Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, 5 p.m. So please join us. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.